This is a video on the courts, the federal courts. We have to look at a couple of things so that we can understand what the courts are and where they're at and what subject matter they have jurisdiction, which is power, over. So the subject matter that they have power over are the ones that have an asterisk, which means they are positive laws. Now, if you want to know about positive laws, you can check out my other videos, but I'm going to tell you here. We go to Title 1, okay, Chapter 3, Section 204. We're going to look at A, United States Code, and you can go back and read this if you want. I'm on a website. I simply Google OLRC, OLRC. Google that and you'll come up with this website, Office of the Law Revision Council, United States Code. These are updated daily when Trump was in office. I don't know how often they update them now. This one says March 18th, which was yesterday. So March 18th, 2021. So this is current law. 204A United States Code. You can go back and read this, but the important part is where it says, provided, however, that whenever titles of such code shall have been enacted into positive law, the text thereof shall be legal evidence. Okay, that means a statute. That means for legal persons. Persons are anything created by man that's not man. Of the laws therein contained, in all the courts of the United States, the several states, and the territories and insular possessions of the United States. So for anything to be considered, any writing, any title to be considered a law, it says right here, it has to be enacted into positive law. And only then can it be used as legal evidence of the laws in all the courts of the United States, the states, territories, possessions. Okay? So, what are the laws? Okay, well, the laws are the ones that have been enacted into positive law. So what are positive laws? It tells you on this website, you go down to the bottom, it says, the asterisk means this title has been enacted into positive law. And then it just goes on to say, however, the appendixes has not been enacted as part of the title, okay? So let's look at what are the laws. Title 1, Title 3, Title 4, Title 5, Title 9, Title 10. Wait a minute. Better yet, let's see what laws, what titles are not laws. Title 2, Congress. Title 6, Domestic Security. Title 7, Agriculture. 8, Aliens and Nationality. Banks and Banking. Commerce and Trade. Conservation. Customs and Duties. Education. Food and Drug. Foreign Relations and Intercourse. Hospitals and Asylums. Indians. Oh, look, Internal Revenue Code. Intoxicating liquors, labor, mineral lands and mining, navigation and navigable waters, crime control and law enforcement, the public health and welfare, public lands, railroads, telecommunications, territories, and insular possessions are not laws. So what did it say over here about the United States? Territories and insular possessions are not laws. So here it says, whenever titles, these are all titles, whenever titles of the code, let's look at one of these, Title 23 Highways. What does it say under front matter? Let's see, what does it say? 23 U.S. Code. So this is Title 23, 23 U.S. Code, front matter. Okay, this title was enacted by this publication. This title was enacted. Here's the enacting clause. Be it enacted. Da 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 da. And then I don't see a positive law citation here. Maybe it's somewhere else. If it's somewhere else, it's only the things after it that's been enacted into positive law. They can have the positive law citation at the very end with only one sentence after it. But let's see. Citation. It should have a positive law enacting clause. I don't see one here, but it says here that it's been made positive. Well, what part has been made positive? Is it just chapter 6, 5, 4? Did they make it positive in chapter 2? Let's look. Here's chapter 1. Definitions, programs, front matter. Let's just look at front matter. Usually we see the positive law citation right up front. It does that. It redoes that. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Okay, so we're looking for, in big red letters like you see here, positive law citation. Here, like this, United States Code titles as positive law. Highways. Codified and reenacted, Title 23, but there's still not a positive law citation. Okay, a positive law citation looks like, I think it's here, right here, positive law citation. This title has been made positive law by Section 1 of Act July 30, 1947, which provided in part that Title I of the United States Code enacted general provisions is codified and enacted into positive law and may be cited as. Now, even though here it says that highways has been made positive, it doesn't tell you what chapter was made positive or from what point it was made positive. So if they have the positive law citation in Chapter 4, then only Chapter 4 and after is positive. If they have the positive law citation in Chapter 6, it's only Chapter 6 and after that's made positive. So all these other things may be positive, but it doesn't mean that the whole title is made positive. So let's get to the courts. So if Title II is not made positive and the Constitution says that Congress can enact courts, inferior courts, then what inferior courts are positive? So what courts are they talking about that they can have you come into if they call you, where you actually have to show up? Because the federal government, it is well known that the federal government cannot press charges against someone and bring them into a court without a summons. And the crime had to have been committed on federal lands because that's where the federal government has authority, on the federal lands. Okay, and I have videos on that if you would like to go check those out. It's pretty well known. So if they bring you into court under Title 26 for some um, tax purpose, what court are they bringing you into? Because they're not bringing you into a court of the United States like we just read. Um, let's look at that again, right? They're not bringing you into a court of the United States if they're bringing you into court under Title 26, because it says that whenever titles of such codes shall have been enacted into positive law, the text thereof shall be legal evidence of the laws therein contained in all the courts of the United States, the several states and the territories and insular possessions of the United States. But let's all note here that territories and insular possessions, according to Title 48, is not positive law. So what does that mean? What does it mean if they're saying that it's a court that is enacted by the laws of the United States, and it's a court of the United States, but then that part of the United States is not made positive, Title 48. So this is not a law. So anything under territories and insular possessions is not a law, but yet they're saying they may have courts there. What does that mean? That they may have territories and insular possessions, but according to Title 48, they really don't because it's not made positive, and so they can't set up courts there. Okay, so Title 27, intoxicating liquors. And I know what some people are going to say. Some people are going to say, well, the states have some jurisdiction over these. But really they don't, because the states are then citing the federal laws. So they're states using federal laws, and they're trying to get you to come into the court, into a state court using a federal law. And it might look like a state law, but it's actually a federal law, and you have to know something about the contracts between the states and the federal government. So here we have Title 4, flag and seal, seat of government in the states. That's never going to come up and stay up. Here's the positive law citation, which provided in part that Title 4 of the United States Code. Okay, so I want you to look at this, which provided that in part that Title 4 of the United States Code is codified and enacted into positive law, which means it's not the whole thing. That's the way I understand it, which is provided in part that Title 4 of the United States Code enacted flag and seal, seat of government, and the states codified. Okay, so if we go to states, that would be Chapter 4. And then we look at assent to purchase of lands for forts. Okay, and then it says here, tax on motor fuel sold on military or other reservation reports to state taxing authority, to the state taxing authority. So the military pays taxes to the states, and you'll see that once you go in there and you read this code, because the taxing in the Constitution gave the federal government the authority to tax on federal lands only, but the state can tax the feds. And so for taxing affecting federal areas, sales or use tax, okay? So the states were to tax the feds when the feds had to use state resources. That's the price you pay. It goes back to Roman times when Julius Caesar would give out some of the unused lands or unpurchased lands to the poor people, for the poor people to use for making a living and living on. And as part of their agreement, it's sort of like a rent or a lease agreement, where the people on those lands, whatever they made, Like, let's say they're growing wheat or something, they would give to Caesar what is Caesar's, which is part of his yield as his um, contract for being able to use that land. And as a result, he would be able to keep the rest and supply for his family. And that's where, as far as I can tell, the oldest system of taxation came from. It was like a rent or a lease for property that you didn't actually purchase. Okay, all taxes levied by any state upon the federal government. Okay. We look at assent to purchase lands. The President of the United States is authorized to procure to this assent of the legislator of any state within which any purchase of land has been made for the erection of forts, magazine, document, and buildings without such consent having been obtained. Okay, so what it's saying is that the president has the right to purchase lands in the state. Okay, and this goes back to 1947. This is positive law, which means it conforms to the Constitution. And what this means is that the federal government can purchase lands inside the states to which they have exclusive jurisdiction, meaning the only lawmaking power. So the states cannot make laws on those lands, but since the state owned the lands, the state had to ratify the Constitution, meaning that they agreed to the contract, which was to allow the federal government to make laws in the states. Okay, so then we go to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, and it talks about exclusive legislative jurisdiction. That means to make laws without permission of the state at the seat of government and the lands purchased. Okay, this is Title 4. The seat where they're in the states, and they can plant their flag there and have a seal on those lands at the seat and the lands in the states. Okay, the lands that they purchase, because they have the lawmaking authority on those lands. That's why every federal base you see will have a flag. That's why when the police started their thin blue line flag, that was an act of war, really, because that's illegal. They can't do that because that's like a private flag or a flag from maybe the Federal Reserve, because Title 34, crime control and law enforcement, and banks and banking are not actually federal laws. They're like contracts, and they can't even be heard in courts of the United States. Now I'm going to show you some more proof of that. In this presidential document dated 1999, it's Executive Order 13132. You can find this in a number of government websites, such as the Federal Register or any other place where you can find the presidential documents. This is in Federal Register, Volume 64. It's number 153, August 10th, 1999. It's according to Title 3. And Section 1 is definitions. And we're going to go under G, acts of the national government, whether legislative, executive, or judicial in nature, that exceed the enumerated powers of that government under the Constitution, violate the principle of federalism established by the framers. Okay? Now, the federal government has a process for doing things. So when it creates forms, those forms are like advertisements, and they're called applications. So when you go to over here and you apply to pay taxes, or you sign papers with your job to pay taxes, or any of those things, you're coming under non-federal laws, okay? And those forms have to be approved by a part of the government called, you can find them on Reg Info, but they have to be approved through, let's see, it was General, I think it's the GSA, General, or no, OMB, Office of Management and Budget. Okay, so this is just a screenshot from their website, the Reg Info website, where once the department, any department or agency wants to have a form or an application or an advertisement put out into the private people to be used, they have to get it approved. So they send it to wherever they send it to, and then it goes to Reg Info, and they update it, and they cite all the sources, and they say whether it's been approved and when it's approved. Now this is a screenshot, so I can't click on anything, but I just want to show you a few things on here. So this is you can view the Executive Order 12866, the meetings, and they do this for the IRS also. So some of these big corporations that have meetings with the IRS, you can view some of their handouts and notes and who attended, like the companies and what representative they sent to the meeting and who from the IRS was there. You can see it when you go to reginfo.gov. Okay, so this is what some of their stuff looks like. This is like I guess it's kind of like a batch number for a group of papers. This one's for the Department of Agriculture, and I'll show you. Department of Agriculture is not a positive law. It's under Title VII. It's not made positive. Okay, and you can go there and you can look around. So all this is, as far as the federal government is concerned, is this is an advertisement or an application. The form is, and I'm going to show that to you. This uses the CFR citation 7 CFR. Okay, that's one of its sources. That's a CFR citation. Then it has a legal authority, which is 20 USC. Okay. Okay, so CFR, Code of Federal Regulation. This is not agriculture. This is not this, even though it is an agriculture. This uses 20 CFR Education, which is not a positive law. 42 U.S. Code. These are U.S. codes. 42 Public Health and Welfare, also not a positive law. So does it comply with the ideas of federalism shown in this executive order, which when I emailed them a couple months ago to ask about this executive order, they said that it had not been repealed. Okay, so it's still active. Still active. And why wouldn't it be? Because it complies with the ideas of federalism. So I don't think they will ever repeal this executive order unless it's repealed by someone who is the most tyrannical of presidents ever, and which could be occurring in our time. So government levels affected. The state and federalism, no, it doesn't comply with the ideas of federalism. So let's see that again. Acts of national government, whether legislative, executive, or judicial in nature that exceed the enumerated powers of the government under the Constitution, violate the principle of federalism. Federalism, no. So this is a violation of the ideas of federalism. And the sources, the legal authorities they use, are not made positive. And if they're not made positive, then what? They cannot be used as legal evidence because there is no legal authority. There's no legal authority because the authorities are not made positive and can't be used in courts as evidence of having been made a law because they're not laws. 20, no, Code of Federal Regulation, that's a CFR citation. That doesn't mean anything to us. Then it lists Executive Order 13771, regulatory flexibility analysis, just this different things. You can look this up on 81 Federal Register 81015. So if you go to federalregister.gov, you can search 81015, 81 FR 81015, and you can find, more information on this. This is the contact information for this paper. There's two. There's Charles H. Watford and there's Kelly Stewart. Now, some of these, I've contacted tons and tons of people. Most of the time, I don't get any answers. They ignore me. But I ask difficult questions of them, and they won't answer. Sometimes they'll answer. Not usually, though. So you can email these two people and ask them, what is this, and what does this mean? And they'll give you the runaround, but I like to ask them just to let them know that I know something, and I know this. And I ask them, well, what does this mean? And 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 I like to ask them about the ideas of federalism. What does this mean? So that would be Executive Order 13132, 1999, Section 1A or Section 1G. What does that mean? What do all these things mean? And you can go to Reg Info and you can look up these things. And sometimes I forget how I find some of this stuff, but you can look up these things and sometimes, I don't know if they got my IP address or what, but sometimes I go here and it won't come up. It won't come up. I don't know if somehow it's blocked on my computer. A friend of mine, she can pull them up. She'll pull up this stuff for me so I can have it, because I like to get it from the source and not from some offshoot law website. Okay, now if you watched my other video, I have a birth certificate for Texas, a legal document. Okay, so a legal document is positive law, assumably, and it's to create a legal name for your child. You see how this is? I didn't change this. I only highlighted this. I only highlighted it. Okay, this is VS-109. It's for state of Texas now. I've gone over this in my other videos. State of Texas is not Texas. State of Texas is a subject matter that exists only on paper. So if they say it's the court of the state of Texas, they're bringing you in actually under a federal court created in Texas as a legal thing, but not a natural thing. Okay, so you can go to, see if I can find it. There's a book you can go to. That's not it. Here we go. Jurisprudence or the Theory of Law by John Solomon. It's on the internet. You go to chapter 15, which is page 340 something or other, 344, I think. No, 340. Something, 334. Persons, the nature of personality. Okay, so legal things are theories. They're fictions. And like I said, I have another video on this where I go through all this. You can check it out. um, juridical significance, personality, receives legal recognition. Okay, so to get one of these means that you want to play games with the federal government in their little federal system. Okay, so you want to go and you want to play games with them and be friends with them and hang out with them and do all their little things that they like to do. You like to play over here. Okay. So when you want to play, when you get one of these and you get one of these and you want to play here, you come play here under the asterisks. But when you want to play under these without the asterisks, without the positive law, you have to apply. That's why under Title 26, you have to get a form which does not comply with the ideas of federalism, put out by the IRS, and you have to fill it out and you have to sign it and you have to agree to play over here. You have to agree to play inside here. Okay, so I hope I've been able to clear some of this stuff up for you guys. A legal person being real or imaginary to whom the law attributes personality by way of fiction when there is none in fact. Natural persons are persons in fact as well as in law. Legal persons are persons in law but not in fact. Okay, and it goes on to explain a whole lot more on this. So if you want to read this from chapter 15, really good info. Just because you are a natural person doesn't mean that you have to play in here, because this federal government is set up different than the laws of England, and John Solomon's book is based on the laws of England. So we have to look at our documents, our organic laws. And where are our organic laws? They're right here. Right here. We have 4 of them: Declaration, Articles, the Ordinance, and the Constitution. You can't have this without this. You can't have this without this, and you can't have this without this. Okay? So all of these are attached to one another, going from the bottom up. But this can stand alone, and you can have these 2 and not have these 2, and you can have these 3 and not have this. And I'm pretty sure you can actually take this out, but I'm not sure if this can exist without this. I'll have to do more research on that. So there you have it. Are they bringing you in under actual laws? Are they bringing in your real person, your fake person, or are they bringing you in into courts not of the United States, not real courts, under not real laws, not legal laws? What exactly are they doing? I don't know. I think they're just trying to trick us all and make us all think that we are something we're not, and we're in something we're not. It tells you right on their Reg Info website that their forms, applications, which are also called advertisements, are not federal. So they're offers to contract with you under non-positive laws. Okay? So like, share, subscribe. Have a great day. Share this with your friends, your family. Let them know. The more we share it, the more we're going to know that the truth is out. The truth is out there. And we can end this tyrannical system. Okay, so trying to figure out how to close this darn thing. And you guys have a great day.